We have somebody here with us too.
We do.
Our home entertainment correspondent is here with us for the first segment, this first interview segment. Arenado Diaz. Hey, Aaron.
Hey guys, what's up?
What are you doing,
listeners?
You sound so enthused.
Yeah, really. Aaron, I have to say, this is the first time that you usually are somewhat enthusiastic, but this is just like Debbie Downer all of a sudden.
I'm down.
Don't be a Debbie Downer.
Yeah, because Eat, Pray, Love wasn't number one. I'm down.
Yeah, well,
I know.
You were that, but it did very well. I mean, you can't complain with those numbers. I mean, it's not 1991. I mean,
Well, I mean there's counter programming for you right there. Yeah. The Expendables up against Eat, Pray, Love. Am I wrong, or is this typically the weekend? Is this why they choose this weekend? Is this the weekend when older female movies hit, like starting with The Devil Wears Prada? When did that come out?
Oh, that was actually July.
That was June, late June, early July. What this is kind of one of those periods where they throw something out there, early August, and for adults, really adult oriented, and everyone's always surprised when it hits. Be it SWAT, be it The Fugitive, Little Miss Sunshine, and
Julie and Julia, yeah.
Julie and Julia, it's late July around this time. So I mean, it always seems to happen. It's always that film that is more adult or Seabiscuit, another example.
Seabiscuit was 4th of July, though, if I'm not mistaken.
No. That was late July, early August.
Oh, okay, no, because I worked on that film, so yeah.
Jerry played Seabiscuit.
I played Seabiscuit. I was his stunt double.
You're the stunt double. Okay.
Yeah, but you'll notice that when a movie hits, like a particular genre movie hits on a particular weekend, you can bet you're going to get another movie just like that or featuring that same actor the next year during that same weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, back in the early 90s, I mean, late July, early August was always like the Harrison Ford era, whether it was Presumed Innocent or The Fugitive or Clear and Present Danger.
Will Smith had 4th of July.
Yeah, and Pee Wee Herman had whenever he could get a movie made.
Well, he was in life during wartime, so I mean he still got it.
Still got it.
Yeah, he still got it. All right.
You got some.
So we got an exciting show tonight. We're going to be doing movie reviews a little bit later. All the new stuff: Scott Pilgrim, Expendables, maybe Eat, Pray, Love. Did you see Eat, Pray, Love, Jerry, or did you miss that one?
I missed that one. But I'd like to see it because I can identify with the subject matter. Just people like trying to change their life course and everything. I never read the book though. I mean, I remember when the book came out and it's still very popular. But there's something that they don't tell you about the book is if you go to Amazon, a lot of those reviews are really negative of people who bought the book and read it. They really have an issue with Miss Gilbert. I think that's the author's name.
Yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yeah, they have an issue with the book.
But be honest with me, dude. You cried during Under the Tuscan Sun, didn't you?
Oh, dude, I was like bawling my eyes out.
What I hear people are complaining about the movie version of Eat, Pray, Love from the book is that they altered the ending because at the end of the book she went into Overeaters Anonymous.
Did she?
Yeah, and Julia Roberts refused to go to Overeaters Anonymous.
Wow.
Well, you wouldn't believe that.
No.
I mean, you'd have to, if somebody like Delta Burke.
I actually. Wait, there goes the Delta Burke interview right
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. No offense to Delta Burke. She's lovely. It was the first thing that came to mind.
She's very charming.
We have a caller actually. So let's get this caller.
Let's get it out of the way.
And then let's get this. I wasn't saying that.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be polite.
323. I guess that's California area.
Yeah, it is.
You're on the line. Hey.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello.
323, you're on the line.
Oh, yeah. This is Donovan, and I'm in Phoenix right now, but 323 is California, LA area.
That is
awesome.
Right. Mm-hmm.
How are you doing, Donovan?
I'm good. I'm driving around listening to your show. I'm a recent, discoverer of your show. I've been going through all the back episodes.
If I had money, I'd send you a check. I would send you a check, and I would actually, offer to pay for your child's college tuition, but I can't. But thank you so much. You don't know how much that means to me after the week I've had, so thank you.
Really? This is Jerry, right?
Yes.
Okay, Jerry, I'm a big fan of you, too. This morning I was listening to you versus the British guy. His name Roland.
Roland, can I say this? Can I say this about Roland? Can I say this about Roland before we go any further? I love Roland. I wish I was Roland. Roland, I understand. Let me be very honest and very frank and I'm not trying to cut into your 15 minutes at all, Donovan, but I'm not. But let me say this. I do like Iron Man 2, and I like Iron Man, but he does not like Robert Downey Jr., okay? And when it's just like I guess this Robert Downey Jr. hatred is like the same as Michael Cera hatred this weekend.
Right.
So you see that. And I understand that. And if you don't like the actor, chances are you're not going to like the role. What I like about the Iron Man movies, and I need time to think about things because I'm not quick on my feet. I'm about as quick on my feet as a Polish wildebeest, so I'm not really that good. So I like the Iron Man films because they remind me of the Ocean's 11 films with Clooney and Brad Pitt and all that. There's a very party aspect to those films. That's why I like them. And I like Robert Downey Jr. because he's a survivor, but he has that kind of George Clooney vibe in these films, and I like that. Roland is Robert, right. I know where Roland's coming from, and I really respect that.
Well, Roland's the Simon Cowell of the callers that we get.
Right. Yeah, no, but he's a good dude. We need Roland. We need more Rolands in the world. Now, I also fight with our co-host sometimes, Chris, who is a beautiful human being, and, I understand where he's coming from, too. But it also makes the show a hell of a lot more interesting.
Right. Hey, Donovan, did you want to say anything, Donovan?
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie.
Actually, if you want to put me on hold and let Jerry take over, you can do that. But
No.
That would be the death of the show. We wouldn't be on next week. It'd be canceled.
Jerry, the thing is, I want to ask is, what was really more entertaining, Iron Man 2 or the argument between you and Roland?
I would like to say the action at the craft services table at Iron Man 2. But no, I think the argument between me and Roland was much more interesting because as much as I like Iron Man 2, it is just more of the same of the first film.
Okay.
Let's be very honest.
Right.
It's almost, it's really sad to say this, and I do enjoy the film. It's a lot of fun. And I say that in hindsight now because of the big event films that followed for the next 2 months were, mediocre at best, if not completely boring.
Did Jamie ever get a chance to see Iron Man 2?
No, I don't go to the movies much. I'm too busy putting together the show.
Yeah.
Jamie is the founder of Movie Geeks United, but he does not go to the movies.
It's that kind. It's like internet is like better than having Wikipedia. I mean, you get that kind of. You can't find that on the internet, Donovan.
Yeah.
You're not going to find that kind of factual information.
Right. We needed a mediator during that argument between you and Roland because Roland didn't bring up very important or interesting points. He was just saying he brought up another superhero movie and said there's no comparison. But you got to have some facts.
You know what? No. I think I was the perfect mediator because I didn't know either way whether it was good or not, so I wasn't on any side.
Yeah, I don't. Jamie knows best. I don't really. Jamie decides.
Isn't that a Nick at Night TV show?
But I think the movie that Roland was trying to bring up was Kick-Ass, and I watched that again last night, and I don't think there's any comparison between the two films because Kick-Ass is really sort of like this postmodern deconstructionism.
Jamie was going to watch it last night, but he watched something else entirely.
That's true. I rented movies last night, and Kick-Ass was one of them. I ended up watching The Bounty Hunter.
Oh, no.
Donovan, and here's the funny thing. Roland called me on my cell phone because I gave him my number, and we've talked several times since then. So we're like the best of friends. It's like, Hitler and Roosevelt got together. So, I mean,
So that's the real behind-the-scenes scoop.
That's
there,
behind the scenes, and as soon as Roland hears this, I am going to get probably the meanest, nastiest text in the history of texting. So,
Donovan, buddy, I appreciate you calling in. Will you call in again on the show so we can talk to you at length?
I mean, I know you guys are busy, but I was hoping to get in on some movie trivia, and yeah.
Well, I tell you what,
we're not involved in that.
We're not. I'm not doing movie trivia tonight. Or we're not doing it. So we're going to do it once a month. Every. So it's coming up again after our De Palma series in September.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that. And then my last point was you guys were going to talk about, or you were interviewing Multiple Sarcasms director?
Yes.
That's what we're about to play, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say I did see it at the Phoenix Film Festival.
Oh.
Right.
Well, what do you think?
Who, out of you three, who has seen it and who hasn't?
I haven't.
I've seen it.
I've seen it.
Okay.
I saw it after I did the interview. So what did you think?
I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, not going in with high expectations. I liked it as a character study, like a throwback to kind of the 70s where actors just walk around and talk and not, So I enjoyed it. I have nothing bad to say about it. I think everybody should see it.
Yeah.
That's how I approached the first term of W, with not having high expectations. But
how about the Oliver Stone film?
I'm actually a defender of Oliver Stone's film. I think it's very. I think it's underrated.
It's very engrossing.
I think because it's not quote unquote an Oliver Stone film, I think people kind of dismiss it. But I think there's some maturity going on in there.
Right.
I'm looking forward to Wall Street. Wall Street 2 looks like it's a return to form. So.
Yeah. Wall Street 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking that too. Yeah.
I don't know. Oliver Stone hasn't been Oliver. Oliver Stone has not been Oliver Stone in too long, but maybe he'll be Oliver Stone again with the Showtime series he's doing, The Secret History of the United States. Okay, well that killed conversation.
I think it was just too many tangents. That's all. I'm sorry. Jamie's great at getting everybody back on track. So.
Yeah, no, he is. I mean, because I'm lousy at it. I mean, I should be taken out in front of a firing squad or at least sent to the gulag for that matter.
That being said, I'm going to get us back on track now. We got to play this interview. But Donovan, call back anytime you want, my friend. Okay, man?
I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Donovan.
Good
Thank you. Thank you. You got a fan out there, Jerry.
I know. I mean, it's amazing that what people feel sorry for the needy. So that's good.
Before long, I'm sure a nude picture will come along in your mailbox.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Okay, you really want to destroy the future of the show, don't you?
Oh, talking about the future of the show, we booked a big guest.
We booked the biggest guest you could book.
Right, and his interview will be airing Wednesday, the 25th of this month, and it'll be James Cameron, airing a couple of days before the re-release of Avatar. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But he brought up Multiple Sarcasms, and that's our first interview tonight. So, Aaron, tell us about the movie before we play this interview.
Multiple Sarcasms is a writing-directing debut by Brooks Branch, who's been a veteran of the business, particularly on branding and marketing, but he finally decided he wanted to branch out and do telephone stories. So it's kind of a relationship story that he, as he says in the interview, he wanted to do something, in a throwback to the late 70s, early 80s stuff like Ordinary People. And it's an interesting effort. The cast is really good. I mean, not only Timothy Hutton and Mira Sorvino, but also Stockard Channing and a lot of other, the child actor, I forget the child's name, really does have some scenes that really do steal the film, I think. So he's already prepping his next film. I think he'll get better.
All right. So here's Aaron's conversation with Brooks Branch, writer, director, producer of Multiple Sarcasms. Thank you, Aaron, for doing this interview with us and for setting it up and
Thank you.
and withstanding this opening 15 minutes of chaos here.
Yeah, that's my fault. You can blame that on me.
No. I normally do, but not this time.
Oh, thank you.
I'm kidding, man. All right. Aaron, thank you, buddy. Here's Brooks Branch talking about Multiple Sarcasms. I have to look up multiple here in my sound file, and no telling what'll come up. Okay, here's Brooks Branch.
I actually used to run a division of Paramount Pictures where I came from publishing originally, but I used to run a division of Paramount Pictures after that where a little creative division where I would help take whatever Paramount had that you could sort of package from an ancillary standpoint, for licensing or merchandising or that kind of thing. And I'd help play with the marketing and how to package it, and then, sort of help in the process of setting up sales and those deals. So I was, I've been more on the branding and marketing side of entertainment for, like 20 years or so.
Oh, wow.
And after leaving Paramount, I've had my own company called Creative Branding Group, where I've, helped studios do that with their own brands or movies, or, we've done the work for Turner Classic Movies or a lot of other, entertainment kind of projects. And then in the middle of that, I've done a fair amount of, just moonlighting on myself, where I've written something or produced something, and so this was, while this was the first time I've directed, I've kind of produced and, I've kind of done all the things it takes to do this project, broken out, but never all in one place.
And what inspired you to say, I've done all this, I've been in the business so long, I want to tell a story?
The honest answer is just going to movies. I've loved movies since I was a little kid, and I see, a couple a week at least, and, I just have seen more movies than most people I know. And I'm a sort of, student of them and went to school and studied film a little bit, and I just love film. And then after working in it for 20 years and, being a writer and all of that, I was able to see behind the curtain and understand sort of how, and I've been a creative director through all of this, so I understand sort of how things are made and the, sort of from an art direction standpoint and all of these different things. And it just finally sort of came together in a, in one piece that was a fun time to tell a story that I wanted to tell.
Mm-hmm. And you direct and you co-wrote this with and so where did the idea for Multiple Sarcasms come from, and what was the development on that, and to get it into a script form that you were satisfied with?
I had the idea originally just from being inspired by the sort of relationship films from the late 70s, the sort of Kramer versus Kramer and Ordinary People and Woody Allen and Hal Ashby type movies. And I just loved the way there was sort of a mixture of offbeat, humorous, but very real, even clumsy dialogue. And I just thought it would be great to write something in that tone. And I wrote it originally as a play, and I had this idea about having a play within a play about this, person really going through what we go through in real life, not the way people go through, conflict in movie life or play or theater life. And then when I met Linda Morris when I worked at Paramount, she helped run Eddie Murphy's company at the time. We collaborated on sort of adapting it to a screenplay. It made more sense. We both knew film much more, and I have no idea why I started as a play. And we sort of adapted it, and then and then as I got closer to directing it, years later, it kind of sat on the shelf, and I wrote a lot of things in between. I sort of came back to it with more mature eyeballs and was able to sort of rewrite it, to what it is now.
Your two leads, how did you get them involved?
Timothy and Mira were both, it's great to have two Oscar winners in your movie, and people, no question, part of when you're casting after, who would just help, feel like a great package, from a marketing standpoint, like who feels like the role. But that really wasn't in my mind at all. I was just trying to get people that felt like a good fit for, these characters. And when Timothy was suggested, I just thought that sounded like a really good fit. He's such a good mix of intelligence and sensitivity and, a lot of the things that I was going for. And when I sat with him, it made sense in moment one. We hit it off and it felt like a good fit. Mm-hmm. And pretty much the same with Mira. Mira came on a little later, and I wasn't quite as familiar with Mira's work. I mean, I'd obviously seen Mighty Aphrodite and, a few other pieces, but not as many as I had with Tim. so I, spent a little time getting familiar with her work, getting more up to speed. And I, then when she and I, she read it and connected with certain aspects of it, and, then we sat together and talked that through, and we hit it off, and, it just felt like a good fit.
Right. Well, and so you write it, and then you cast it. So tell me, what was the actual directing experience like?
Directing was, this is, I don't mean this in a cocky way, I mean it in a fun way, which was almost the best part, the actual directing, because so much of the stress is all of the BS that happens to put yourself in a position to direct. A lot of what you're dealing with legally and with money and with casting and all this craziness. And then even after the film is made, there's so much, stress and everything to get a film out and all, and sell it and how this works and that works. The actual directing is fun because you're 100% in the creativity. You're in the creative process 100% without, because keep in mind, I'm also the producer.
Right.
And so being a producer, I'm dealing with a lot of those other stresses. And, when we were directing, it was just a genuine collaboration with these great actors. These are really talented actors, and that's, I'm not just talking about Tim and Mira. Obviously Stockard, but Dana Delana was amazing in this, and Mario Van Peebles was amazing, and Layla Robbins, and the little girl that plays, this is one of her first movies, and she was just unbelievably fun to collaborate with, and so talented. And I felt that way about, basically all the actors in the movie, and that part was just a blast. So directing was fun.
Well, yeah, that is something. It's your first time out, and so you have these veteran actors, some Oscar winners and Oscar nominees, and so they're willing to work, but then the children are kind of a wild card, particularly on some they can be a wild card of corralling children. So was that seemed to go well on this film?
Yeah, this is where sort of my experience just watching movies came into play, because I know that, a bad kid, if you get a kid that's like this Disney-fied kid in a very serious drama, it can ruin the movie. You can just, have a problem with, the whole movie and the believability of everything just because of that. Mm-hmm. And so I was adamant to get a really great, real kid. And so we put up the casting director and everybody involved. We put a lot of energy into finding that real kid. I cared more about having a real kid than I did about having an acting kid. Someone that was just comfortable in themselves. And this girl, India Inanga, is absolutely that. She's now on Treme on HBO.
Right.
She's done a few interesting things since, and she just, we narrowed it down to her and a few others, and then I brought Timothy in to read with them, and it was sort of clear to all of us that she was just this natural kid. Not just a natural actor, but kind of an honest kid and a likable kid, and, so it didn't feel like she was reading dialogue the way some kids do, where, in a lot of movies, the kids do it in this sort of almost jingle way, where they're, saying lines, and it's going, yeah, but Mom, I don't want him in it. It's like the silly thing. And India, was just really good at being natural. And that was, the direction I'd give her would be to just, make it as she's got so much emotion in her look and in other aspects of her. So I would just say to, make it as natural as you possibly can. And she did.
Well, and you said, you were a director and you're also the producer, and everyone knows that's kind of a, some people will tell you that can be kind of a push-pull thing, in that, the director is the creative person and the producer is always the one on the director's shoulder saying, we have, money and time are ticking. How did you go about kind of jockeying those two responsibilities?
It's a really good question, because, people often ask me, like, I've done a lot of interviews, as you can imagine, and a lot of, in some festivals and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of people say, what was it like to be the writer and director? And that was easy. They're both creative, and they both inform each other. But being the producer and director really is tough, because you're basically the one, putting the brakes on yourself. As a director, you want to do whatever you can creatively to make it as good as it can possibly be, and as a producer, you need to tell yourself, the director, to hurry up or to not do this, or, so it's a little schizophrenic for sure. It's a difficult struggle, and there were aspects of that I enjoyed because I do a lot of wild things in business, and I've done a lot creatively, so I think I was comfortable with that. But there were times where it was just, I think one of the two suffered because of it. Like either I couldn't quite focus, directing as much as I would have hoped because the producer's in my ear, or the producer couldn't quite just be as blunt as he needed to be because the director needs a moment.
I'll ask you, and so you've been, you've been in branding and worked in the studios, and you've been in this for a couple of decades now. So I'm curious, what's your perspective? Because now the film has come out on DVD and it's starting to come out and people are going to see it. So what's your perspective now on these new, multiple avenues of getting your film out to the public? I'm sure, 20 years ago, it was theatrical, then VHS and HBO, TV. But now you have, DVD, you have Blu-ray, you have video on demand, you have streaming. So I'm kind of curious, what are those? What do you think of these new kind of models of distribution?
I'm excited mostly, but it's a pro and a con because for filmmakers it's mostly exciting because anybody can pick up a camera now and start to play with it, and if you do something that's good, there's a lot of ways to get it out to people, and that's exciting. We even, the company that released it is called Multiple Avenues Releasing, which I helped sort of assemble, for our theatrical with a team of, the people that, wanted to release the film, and then we brought in a lot of other, marketing people that I'd worked with and some that I hadn't, and that was really, my philosophy is really flexible in terms of trying to do things and, be open to where we're at with technology and with distribution and with the climate and with the economy and do, innovative things. So that's all exciting. The part that I think is challenging and, challenging for me as well is that there's just certain economics that play into it. If you're going to make a movie, there's all different levels of movies, but if you're making a movie, through the system and, and you're spending several $1 million on it, the formula that you mentioned at least made it pretty black and white as to what you could expect to return. Mm-hmm. And while some of that model still holds, it's different. You can't count on, foreign territories, or you can't count on DVD to backstop everything in some cases. So, it's hard. You have to also look at it from an investor standpoint, and you can't just go to them and say, there's so many innovative ways to get it out. We're going to put it on the internet and stream it, and so that might not return the revenue that the film costs.
And what about, and this is, I guess, more of a broad kind of philosophical question, in that, it seems like in Hollywood, and particularly in the big studio system, it either has to be a tentpole, multi-$100 million production, or a super, low budget for one of the dependents. And there seems to be kind of this vanishing, mid-budget film that it's for adults. Do you find that kind of distressing?
Yeah, I found it distressing for two reasons. One is because this film matches what you said. It's very much this sort of, sophisticated adult slant at real life, which isn't, what's in vogue right now. But at the other flip side of that is that the people that see it, a lot of people like myself love to go see movies like that. And so, the people that see it and loved it really moves them, and that, for that I'm really proud. And it seems to connect with a lot of people. So I don't quite buy all the things that I read in the paper. I understand we're in a little bit of escape mode, and nobody likes a good, Judd Apatow comedy more than me, or a, even like an Iron Man kind of movie. But
right.
At the same time, I don't quite buy that people are just want, absolute fluff. There's when a movie's, really great and finds its audience, which is challenging because you have a lot of things working against you right now. But when you can find your audience, movies can do really well and be sort of in that drama, sweet spot.
Right.
So I think that there's we're all such sheep in the entertainment industry. So I think that while there's absolute truth to the escape mode we're in right now, I also think as soon as a few, movies do well, Sex and the City does well, and all of a sudden we say, wow, women are going to movies. Or, that I think it was called It's Complicated with Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin,
Right.
When a movie starring Meryl Streep does well, then we're saying, wow, women that age are going to movies. And the truth is, I think there's all those demographics sitting there, and if we just communicate to them the right way.
About demographics and, about like Sex and the City, It's Complicated, that demographic's always been there. You just need to target them, and you can target them with a lot of great indie films too.
Right.
But we're talking about like It's Complicated or It's Sex and the City, and there was really a movie that at least I liked a lot last year, Julie and Julia, that came out exactly a year ago that I liked. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying that. My favorite, I will say this though, it's my favorite Nora Ephron directed film.
Yeah.
I know that.
Really? Is it really?
Yeah. You can cut me. This is going to be my new thing to say to you, Jamie. Cut me off whenever you feel you need to. But I was watching on CBS Morning News. I guess the thing was Charles Osgood this morning. They had a profile of Rob Reiner, and he did. They were talking about all the films he did. I noticed they didn't mention anything after A Few Good Men, but when I do like When Harry Met Sally, but she wrote that, and I like Sleepless in Seattle, and she directed that. But I really got to say, my favorite thing that Nora Ephron's ever done, in all honesty, is Heartburn. That's my all-time favorite.
And she wrote that.
Yeah. That's my all-time favorite. I know that doesn't go far with a lot of people.
Well, you might like that more just for the performers and Mike Nichols' tone. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
All right. Well, a polar opposite topic.
You want me to hang up now?
No. Just let me finish my sentence.
Okay.
A polar opposite topic from Nora Ephron is the movie we're about to discuss now.
I'm so happy about this too.
The number one film in America this weekend, The Expendables. I mean, this is like an all-star action cast. Mm-hmm. Stallone, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Jason Statham, throw in a wrestler in there. I mean, it's packed.
And we interviewed Dolph Lundgren.
We did, yes. And but it also marks the return to the screen of, one of the great action idols from the past 30 years. And that, of course, is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He has like a little, a little cameo in the thing. It amounts up to more than a cameo, I'd say, because it runs like 4 or 5 minutes. So
it's funny, man. It's funny.
Yeah, and a lot of people say it's the highlight of the movie. So
That's curiosity, not so far from the truth, but yes.
My curiosity comes into play here in that, did this make him hungry to get back in the movie game again? So I thought that, what the hell, I'll try to get him. I mean, he can't be that busy being the governor of California. And we got him tonight. So we're going to bring on Arnold Schwarzenegger. And all of a sudden, everyone in our chat room, their jaws just dropped. So
I fell out of my chair.
So he's off the line right now. Let me patch him in. Mr. Schwarzenegger, are you with us there?
Movie Geeks United! How excited are you to have me on your show?
It's very exciting. We wanted we wanted you on the show for a long time. You're a great action hero to all of us.
Of course.
So how did it feel, buddy, to get back in the movie game with this?
It felt fantastic. It felt even more fantastic to come out on top, to terminate the competition. Julia Roberts was just collateral damage.
So you're friends with everyone in the movie, right? I mean, Stallone and Bruce Willis, you guys were all tight, right?
Oh, very much so, very much so. You could even say that we're twins.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at you, Arnold. I can't help it. But tell me about what, in your opinion, because you came up during that period of all these tough guys. Who do you think could take on? Who do you think could beat? It could be the last man standing in a fist fight between all of you.
But naturally, I'd have to say it would be me. You know, it's funny, on the first day of filming The Expendables, I said to Sly, you are one ugly motherfucker. And I told him to get his ass to Mars.
Oh my God!
So your term is about to end, isn't it? Isn't it going to end soon? I guess as governor.
Yes, soon it will be Judgment Day.
Excuse me, Mr. Governor. Who are you rooting for in the election?
I beg your pardon?
No, who are you rooting for in the election? Do you even care what who's going to replace you?
Not at all. No. All governors were pale in comparison. They will all be running men. And I will always be considered the great governor of the state of California.
So when you leave office, the big question is, are you going to go back into movies, and what kind of ideas do you have to do that?
Oh, well, you know what I always say. I always say, I'll be back. And I mean it. I will be back. I have no other choice. I can't be the president. It's illegal. So I will be back in the films. And I do plan. I'm sorry, I have something in my throat.
Something in your throat, yeah.
You want to revisit, like, any character that you want to play again? Oh my God.
I think that would be great. I'd love to see you do that.
Yeah, I would love to see you do that too.
Mr. Schwarzenegger, I know your time is valuable. I really appreciate you coming on here, and I hope that you come back again soon.
Stick around.
All right. Bye, Artie. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. Thank you.
Man, that was a big treat.
That was a very big treat. It sounded like he was having a stroke.
Yeah, he did. You know, I don't mean to laugh at Schwarzenegger. I mean, he's a big guy. I don't mean to demean him. When you've got that much charisma and natural humor, it's hard not to appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really, really hard not to. Yeah.
All right, well, we got our movie geek Chris is here on the line. He's going to come on, and he's going to join us for kind of a roundtable discussion on movies, and we'll start with The Expendables and the evolving career of Stallone in this later part of his life. That sounds kind of tragic the way I just put that, but hey, Chris, how are you, man?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, how are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good.
Good.
No complaints.
Good.
It's good to have you on the show.
I love
the
Schwarzenegger interview.
I know. That's a big highlight. I think that's going on the highlight reel for the next couple of years.
That will have to go on the highlight reel.
Tell me, you haven't seen The Expendables, obviously, Chris, right?
No, I'm not that interested in seeing it, no.
Okay. Did you check out Scott Pilgrim?
I did go see Scott Pilgrim, yes.
Did you?
Okay,
we can talk about The Expendables, that's fine. I mean, it's not,
right.
I didn't see it, but it's not like I don't have an opinion on it, you know.
Okay. Jerry, you saw it. Do you get what you pay for, essentially?
You feel like you're in 1985. But now having said that, everyone has aged, you know, in the 25 years in that period. But it is like you do feel like you're watching like Raw Deal or Cobra or, you know, whatever, you know, film you want to throw into that mix. It's a fun film. You can't take it seriously. But it's a lot of fun. And if you grew up in that time, I was in high school during that time when these films were very popular with a lot of these actors. It's a really fun film. Do I read anything more into that? No, I can't. But I took my brother to see it, my older brother to see it, and he had fun. It's like what felt like when I was in high school when he would take me to the movies, to those films. That's exactly what it was.
Okay.
That's exactly the feeling. I felt like I was watching like this hybrid of Raw Deal and Cobra, or Commando or Rambo, and that's what it was. I had said to you last week on the phone, if they play it straight, it would be disastrous. Thankfully, they don't play it as straight as you would think. Stallone.
Yeah, but is it campy?
It is campy to an extent in the third act. The first half of the film, I have to say, you're like, guys, some of you haven't been in a movie that's debuted in a theater in a long time. Tone it down, okay? You're used to pay-per-view or DVD or VHS straight to those. I think Dolph Lundgren must have been just elated. Oh my God, I'm going to have a film that's going to go in the theaters.
Well, hey, this is interesting because Jean-Claude Van Damme came out with why he turned it down.
Yeah, I read
saying that there essentially was not a role.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's kind of supporting him on that. I think it's a dumb move on his part.
Well, did you read Anthony Lane's review in the New Yorker?
No.
The first thing he says, and he did not like the movie, but where's Van Damme?
Mm-hmm.
And this, I've read this a couple of places. Where's Van Damme? Where's Steven Seagal, for that matter? I don't think Steven Seagal, and Chuck Norris even, I think, was offered a part in the film.
Yeah, all three of them were, apparently.
Well, I think Steven Seagal's problem is he takes himself so seriously, I don't know if he would have I think he would have gotten in a fist fight with these guys in the making of this movie, and that would have been just gold for YouTube. But Van Damme is missing from the movie. You do feel that. It's a shame he didn't do it. He should have been in this film. They could have found a place for him somewhere.
It's a really arrogant, dumb move on his part.
Mm-hmm.
Because he could use a number one movie in the movie theater as much as anybody can.
Yeah, you're right.
And for him to pretend like he's above it, look at his past, doesn't move. Well, look at his career. I mean, is he really above it?
Yeah, if Dolph Lundgren's in it, he should be in it. They're both doing these Universal Soldier movies, cranking those out. He should definitely be in here.
Yeah, I agree. We got a caller that wants to talk about Expendables with us for a little bit. We got a couple of minutes before we get on to the next film. Ike, you're on the line, man.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, I got a lot. Yeah, I got. Oh man, I'm glad you guys are talking about this. This was an epic movie. It really was. I definitely felt like I was back in the '80s. I mean, you got all the guys in there, and I'm sure. I'm not sure if you guys knew this, but this is a rumor. Did you know the connection with Inglourious Basterds? See,
I'm afraid I do.
The rumor was that Quentin Tarantino wanted to have some old school action stars along with Stallone and Inglourious Basterds, but for some reason I heard he changed his mind and Stallone got pissed off, and that's why he did this, to get revenge. That's why I heard.
Huh.
Well, we all knew when Inglourious Basterds has been in the ether for a good decade before it came out. We all knew that Tarantino wanted to make this movie. I know he wanted to use a lot of people in the film, like Stallone. There was Bruce Willis he wanted to use. He wanted to use Adam Sandler. He wanted to use a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what they are two totally different films. I would love to have seen Stallone in Inglourious Basterds, but I don't know if it would have. I don't know. Stallone is, and God bless him, he has an ego. He has a very big personality. I don't know if he and Tarantino could ever work together.
I think they'd be good.
Yeah.
I think Stallone proved that he can lessen his ego with something like Copland. I mean.
Well, no, that's true, and I think Copland is a very good underrated movie. But what I like about Stallone, though, is that in these last years that we've seen Stallone since Rock, I'm not Stallone's biggest fan. I always preferred Arnie over Stallone growing up. But
me too.
I know, but let me say, I respected Stallone once Rocky Balboa came out, because all of a sudden there's a sense of humility in him and the interviews and everything. And I gained even greater respect for him several weeks ago when he talks about that he was offered Godfather Part 3. And he said, I can't do this. He told the guy at Paramount, I can't do this. You expect me to follow up Francis Ford Coppola's 2 masterpieces with some piece of shit I could make? You've got to be kidding me. And he threw it out. To me, Stallone, whatever bad feelings I had before that about him, I gained so much respect for him for saying that. But it would be interesting. I would love to see Stallone and Tarantino work together. I thought it was very nice to see Stallone and Mickey Rourke work together, and I know they worked together on the Get Carter remake, which is, the less said the better. But I did like the two. I do like Mickey Rourke in this movie a lot, and I know a lot of people don't, but I do.
So you like the movie? I'm taking it, Ike.
I really enjoyed it, and I believe this is going to bring back the old school action star because people are starting to get sick and tired of these Jason Bourne CGI. Even when the big kills were starting to happen through the whole movie, I was yelling, "Jason Bourne can suck it."
Jesus.
Don't get me wrong. I like those type of movies. I like all kinds of movies.
But you think they've run their course?
Doesn't this sort of feel with him, this whole last 3 movies from Stallone, doesn't it sort of feel like the grand finale at a fireworks show? Like he's had a career that, he's had some hits and misses throughout the 70s and 80s and less so in the 90s, like very few hits, and then all of a sudden he comes back and he pulls Rambo out of the trunk and he pulls Rocky Balboa out of the trunk, and now he's pulling the Expendables, which is basically like Cobra and all the other action movies from the 80s. He pulls that out, so it sort of feels like the grand finale. Like next, what's he gonna? I don't think he has anything else left to pull out of the trunk.
I think you're right. This latter part of his career, he's building off of nostalgia. That's what he's doing.
You don't think the over the top remake?
No. Although I will say,
I
will say I don't want to sound like I'm totally shitting on Stallone because I like Copland. And not only Copland, I like a lot of Stallone's movies. I like Cliffhanger. I like Nighthawks,
Likewise.
from 81. I think he's made some really, had some pretty good performances. And there's some other ones that I'm not remembering,
Yeah, thank you for bringing Nighthawks. That's a great film.
All right, go ahead.
What about Paradise Alley?
I never saw it. Sorry.
He was good in that too, and Lockup. He was good in Lockup too. You remember that?
I think Fist.
Yeah,
Fist is what a lot of people like.
Yeah,
the movie Fist is the one that a lot of people go back to.
So maybe that's the next step. Like he's done the big action nostalgia thing for the last 3 movies. I do feel like if he wants a career that's to be taken at all seriously, the next step is just take smaller sort of supporting roles in movies like Copland and Nighthawks and things like that. You can't just continue to make Expendables movies. The guy's like 64, like it's not believable anymore. Like
you got a good point.
Yeah, it's like why Roger Moore retired from the James Bond series, or he was retired. Because Come of You to a Kill, we were thinking, dude, the guy can't even run across the street. What's he doing?
Hey,
right.
For those new people in the chat room, you just missed our exclusive interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger for the Expendables.
Yeah,
so
someone important in the chat room.
Make sure you go back through the replay and
we actually have a filmmaker in the chat room, Phil, who's on Tilt the movie, which they raised with King is a Think Productions.
Right.
They raised a lot of money on Kickstarter, and they met their goal and everything. But Phil is a great guy. He's been following us for a while, and he's a really good guy.
Well, we appreciate it. And
yeah, we do.
Wish you luck on your movie. Ike, we appreciate you calling in, man.
Oh, no problem. Anytime.
All right, buddy. Okay, so Scott Pilgrim, you guys both saw it. I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah.
Jerry, this was like the one movie that you were most looking forward to.
Yeah, it's like the 2 movies I was most looking forward to come out on the same day. So what do? I take my mom to see the midnight show of Scott Pilgrim, of course.
Right.
And let me say this, though, before we go into this, and I really want to hear what Chris thinks about the movie because it's very important. She really loved it. And I was very apprehensive about taking her to see this the way I was about Pineapple Express, and she really loved Pineapple Express. She's much younger than her age suggests, I will say that. And she loved Scott Pilgrim. I love Scott Pilgrim. I think it, if you God, Twitter is really the death knell for movies. But if you look at Twitter today, a lot of people are saying making apologies for why it didn't do well. It did, given the subject matter and given what the movie is. I don't, and I think Chris would agree with me here. I don't think we expected this movie to be a box office hit.
No, I don't. I agree completely. And it made like 13 million or something like that.
I think 10 or 11 million dollars, and for a movie like that, let's be honest, that's pretty good.
It finished fifth place.
I think it cost like 60 million or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to cost,
it's not a successful movie financially. But I agree with all the things you're saying. In fact, I would go further. I think the movie that it's going to be a cult classic. Like I mean, I think it's a new classic.
I agree.
Like this year's like Pineapple Express or Super Troopers or something like that. Something that maybe like doesn't get a lot of attention when it comes out. Oh, Pineapple Express doesn't really fit into that category. But you know,
I think Fight Club is the analogy.
Yeah, it's very comparable to Fight Club. I think the life it's going to have, and I do think it was a very, very funny movie. It's sort of shot in a way that you know, we've seen a lot of movies in the last 10 years, especially that are very sort of shot very frenetically and like sort of like a crazy electricity running through the movie. Fight Club is like that.
Right.
You know, the Jason Bourne movies are like that. There's a lot of quick cutting and stuff going on, and it's very sort of interactive. This movie just takes that to a whole nother level.
It does.
No pun intended as far as the video games go.
Right.
But I think it's a classic. I mean, I laughed. It took a little bit of time to get used to that sort of tone that the movie has. It's sort of for the generation of multitaskers that are doing, 6 different things at one time. They're playing a video game and listening to music and watching TV and texting all at once. Yeah. And that's how the movie feels. It feels like it's got all those things going on at one time, and it's a little disconcerting at first, and it was actually a little bit annoying for the first 5 minutes. But once you settle into it and get used to, that's what, love it or leave it. That's how this movie's going to be for 2 hours. It becomes very, very comfortable, and it becomes very, very unique and hilarious. And I loved it. I thought it was up there with Inception and Toy Story 3 as far as the best movies of the year so far.
Well, I agree 120% with you there, Chris, because I had read the graphic novels, and even if you haven't read the graphic novels, and I actually think it's better if you haven't, because it's actually the kind of thing you want to go back to afterwards, because if you look at the stuff they left out, you're like, okay, you didn't need that in there, because it would have. I think it would have actually drowned the movie. And while those sub stories are very funny, they wouldn't have helped progress the story as far as the movie's concerned. But I will say this: the farther away I get from actually viewing the movie, the more I love it. I loved it when I watched it. I think every performance in the film adds something to the film. I can't think of and you said that about the multitasking. I love this fact that they're talking everyone's talking on the cell phone or texting, and like Michael Cera is like so behind the times. His character is like, wait, Karen Culkin is like texting everyone about what they're talking about, and it's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, it's every performance is good. I think Edgar Wright's direction is perfect. I don't have any complaints about this movie. None.
No, I like what you said about
the audience. Go ahead, Chris.
What Jerry's saying about the performances, there's performances that literally last no more than 2 minutes tops, and they stick with you, and they sort of add something. They literally do add something to the movie for that 2 minutes that they're in it, and they're memorable. And there's a lot of performances like that. And there's some, quick little cameos and things like that. And everybody is completely on their game. Yeah. And it's like Inception, one of those movies that I do feel was sort of made layered, to be seen 3-4 times to catch all of the little jokes that are in it.
Did the audience enjoy it? I mean, could you sense a palpable enjoyment in the audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sort of they sort of had the same experience that I did. It seemed like there was not a lot of laughter at the beginning of the movie. People were sort of trying to, wear it in, and then towards the end of the movie, it gets very exciting, and everyone seemed to be laughing quite a bit more and enjoying it quite a bit more.
if you pitted this movie up against Kick-Ass, which one would you put on top?
Oh, Scott Pilgrim by far. Kick-Ass is a fun movie, and it's very cute, but ultimately, stylistically, I don't think it really upped the game at all. It's sort of maybe the best satire on comic book hero movies. Scott Pilgrim is not really a satire on comic book hero movies. It really does embrace them. It embraces the culture of not only comic books, but video games and rock and roll and action movies and love stories. All 5 of those elements are critical to this movie, and it's really unique in that way.
Yeah, it is. And I watched Kick-Ass again last night, and I think Chris is absolutely right. It is a satire of a superhero movie, and also it's a coming-of-age story as well within that. But Scott Pilgrim sort of combines all these things, and it's a different movie also. I think there are definitely similarities, but Scott Pilgrim just is, in the movie at least, it's somewhat like Scott Pilgrim isn't the most likable character for the first half of the film. That's why I think it's actually a bravado performance by Michael Cera, because he's not very likable. I think, Chris, you would agree with that.
No, he's not. And I will say also that I see lots of funny movies and movies that I would call funny, but this movie has one or two, but one in particular moment that made me laugh so hard that I could not stop laughing. It's been a long time since I could not stop laughing like that in a theater. And to the point that I was embarrassing my wife.
That's good. No, good for you. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that you liked it, because it's definitely, you put Inception and Toy Story 3 there. Let me ask you this: did you see Youth in Revolt, Chris?
I did, and I loved it. I thought it was very good. I'm a sucker for Michael Cera. I think he's very, very funny, and I think he's very talented. And Youth in Revolt, all very, very different from Scott Pilgrim, and not as good, to be perfectly frank.
No.
Youth in Revolt is a good movie. It's probably about an 8. It's a solid 8. But they're very, very, very different movies and very, very different performances from him.
But different performances.
Subtly growing up.
Yeah, but let me ask you this: do you think? I think that Youth in Revolt, and I love reading the book a long time ago, but I actually like the movie. But I think it's like the perfect movie to before you get to Scott Pilgrim, because I notice a lot of people don't want to see Scott Pilgrim because they don't like Michael Cera, and I think that's such a BS reason. I think your opinion of Michael Cera, if you have a negative one of him, will change watching Scott Pilgrim, but I also thought that during Youth in Revolt, too.
Yeah, that's true. And some people, for some reason, don't like certain comedians. Like, I know a lot of people feel that way about Ben Stiller. I like Ben Stiller, but I know a lot of people, their complaint is, well, Ben Stiller's the exact same in every movie. And that's true, in a lot of ways. Like, or some of these guys, they'll have, like, 1 or 2 characters. Like, Ben Stiller has, the character from There's Something About Mary, and then he has, like, on the opposite end, he has, like, the villain version of that character, which is, like, the dodgeball character.
Right.
So, and Michael Cera sort of has the same thing going on.
Right.
He's got, like, 1 or 2 characters that he sort of does in movies, and I'm okay with that. Some comedians, I like their characters. Some comedians, like Adam Sandler, I don't like their characters. Like, I just don't find it funny,
Right.
Do you get him confused, with Michael Cera, with Jesse Eisenberg?
No.
I don't, but so many people do.
Do they?
I mean, I don't, but they seem to. I don't, because I can tell them apart. I know who's starring in a movie, but they both seem kind of blend together for me. Style wise, kind of how they, their performances.
Yeah, there's some similarities there. Maybe they're like the new Bill Pullman and Bill Paxton for this generation, I guess.
That's
sort
good.
of cancel each other out.
That's good. All right, and actually, The Social Network, it hasn't even come out yet, but that's the one I'm most looking forward to throughout the remainder of the year. I mean, there's others, but that's the first big one that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
And it's already been listed as one of the top movie trailers of all time. It's a great movie trailer. We played it before on the show, but we're going to play another movie trailer now because I want to open up a discussion about the career of James L. Brooks, who I think is interesting and isn't talked about enough because he hasn't made movies in a long time, but he's back with a new one called How Do You Know? And the trailer just came out for it. It stars Reese Witherspoon, Paul Rudd, Owen Wilson, and Jack Nicholson. And here's a little listen to the trailer.
Most girls' plan is to meet a guy, love, have a baby, but I don't know if I have what it takes for everybody's regular plan.
Son, I have some disturbing news.
What?
I'll wait till you get here.
Tell me. Please, it would be nice to get one piece of bad news without someone studying my face to see how I'm taking it.
They are going to indict you.
George? How are you?
Good to see you.
Yeah. George, this is my boyfriend, Matty.
Nice to meet you. Who is he?
You didn't even say hello.
Yeah, I think you ought to check with me before you invite some guy over, so I'm a little too pissed off to just say hello.
I think I screwed up.
Not from my perspective. Taxi?
No, I just have to figure out where I'm going.
Let me ask you something. How do you know when you're in love? Anyone?
I got a way. Figure I'm in love with somebody when I wear a condom with the other girls.
Holy crap, I'm in love.
What sort of trouble are you in, George?
Currently unemployed. I'll soon run out of money, and I'm the target of a federal investigation.
You're a real chick magnet, aren't you?
Son, we are in a rapidly evolving situation.
Don't tell me. George. Are you going to make me literally run from bad news?
You do not have the luxury of not...
On the edge of a moment. The people who make toasts. I just touched your leg.
I know.
And we're gonna be fine. With our hearts in our hands, like loaded guns.
I wrote something else that I want to say to you. I went nuts when you left. I broke a lamp.
Okay, read me the thing.
That was the thing.
And we're gonna be fine.
All right, how do you know? It comes out December 17th, the new comedy drama Romance from James L. Brooks. James L. Brooks is an interesting case. Obviously, he came up from TV. Mm-hmm. He still has an identity in TV because he's behind. He's one of the founding people behind The Simpsons, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very, very successful. And I think he's successful in a way because he's great at devising situations that he puts really interesting characters in. Now, in the film land, that's translated among some that have criticized him as movies that play too much like TV. And I think it's ironic, or not ironic at all. It's no surprise that his masterpiece is about the TV business with broadcast news.
Right, right.
I like James L. Brooks. I like him because of his characters. Even something that is generally known as a failure, something like I'll Do Anything, I like a lot.
That's all right.
So let me get you guys' takes on the work of James L. Brooks and what you think of the prospects for this new movie. Chris, do you want to start with that?
Sure. Well, first off, I think it's interesting that this guy is in near Terrence Malick territory as far as like the speed with which he produces new movies. He's been making movies, directing movies for about 20, almost 30 years. Gets 6 movies to his credit, so including this one. I do think that there have been diminishing returns throughout the years. Obviously, as much as I like As Good as It Gets, I do think that Terms of Endearment and Broadcast News are his 2 masterpieces, and those are, both of them were 20 years ago, so right. More than that. I don't care as much for I'll Do Anything as you do. As Good as It Gets, I think, is a decent movie. I like it. I don't think it's as good as his original work. Spanglish, I think, is a mess. And this new movie, to me, does not really look all that appealing, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't know if it's because I'm not nuts about Reese Witherspoon. I'm not nuts about Owen Wilson. I do like Paul Rudd, but I think what worked so well with some of his other movies, like Broadcast News, Terms of Endearment, and As Good as It Gets, is the people he populates in these sort of like TV romantic comedies are not actors who you usually associate with doing that type of material. They're very, very serious actors, and therefore when they do this, this sort of lighthearted, melodramas of his, it has an interesting effect to see these people doing comedy.
You're right.
Whereas with Reese Witherspoon and Owen Wilson, I feel like it'll come off the same way it did with Spanglish, which is it's just not funny. I've seen these people do funnier stuff.
Right.
And that's what I fear. And the trailer to me is not funny. In fact, it's almost awkward to see Jack Nicholson in a trailer for a movie that looks this unfunny.
Yeah, and he was a last-minute kind of replacement. I forgot who dropped out of that role, but it looks. Somebody in the chat room asked, they can't tell what the movie's about from the trailer. It looks like every other romantic comedy ever made. So for me, the movie looks really common for someone as kind of distinguished as James L. Brooks. Someone that I like his work a lot. It looks like another romantic comedy.
Right. With a financial disaster maybe as the background for the story or something like that. But
that's not enough. Paul Rudd's character, that's what I think the curiosity lies. What did he do? What is it that he's with? I think Terms of Endearment, as the further I get away from it, the older I get, is a really brilliant film. Broadcast News, I won't lie to you, when it first came out, I wasn't crazy about, but as I've gotten older, that film certainly, and that's really thanks to Jamie actually revisiting that film, means more to me. I'm not a big fan as good as it gets. I do hate to say it, Jamie, but I do. The first time I watched that, it does feel like a made-for-TV movie with A-list actors. But I won't lie to you. I think Greg Kinnear is awesome in that film. I do walk away with that. Spanglish is...
Well, it is. It is like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but the characters are special. I think those characters are special.
Yeah.
I think their relationships are special.
No, you're right. No, and I definitely see where you're coming from with that. Spanglish is the one thing that I guess we're all, everyone was hoping after Punch Drunk Love, and it just feels, it doesn't really feel like much of anything Spanglish. It's a miss on a lot of things.
I like Adam Sandler in it. I do, but the movie doesn't seem to have a focus.
Right. No, that's a perfect word. It doesn't have a focus. I have high hopes for this because I do like Paul Rudd a lot. And let me ask you this: what, besides Four Christmases, what has Reese Witherspoon done since Walk the Line? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you guys. The thing with about the guy that was arrested for suspected terrorism that Jake Gyllenhaal did. Rendition. Yeah, Rendition. You're right. Yeah, neither one of those movies. Okay, but I think that the idea of her acting opposite Paul Rudd has some promise. Owen Wilson, if it's like a repeat of You, Me, and Dupree, well, and that's what it looks like, kind of.
Right.
That's not good. I think Wes Anderson gets the best out of Owen Wilson, out of anybody, that really challenges him. And I like what I said to you in the email earlier. It's weird to see Jack Nicholson in a supporting role like this.
Yeah, I've always liked the fact that he's perfectly willing to do it, though.
Yeah.
And he always has been. I mean, take him at his apex.
Yeah.
He's been willing to do supporting stuff.
Right.
Yeah, Reds, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Red.
I think it really all has to do with casting. In terms of Endearment, would not have elevated itself above TV Movie of the Week as well as it did without a combo like Shirley MacLaine and Deborah Winger playing off each other. As much as they were at each other's throats during filming, I mean, it worked. It worked for the movie.
It did. You're right. It did.
Yeah. And plus, I think there's some really smart writing, too, in most of his films,
Also, Owen Wilson, I hate to harp on the guy, but he's sort of in M. Night Shyamalan territory, which is people sort of see him. Well, they sort of see him.
I know what you mean.
he's given people a lot of turkeys. You know, I mean, he's put out a lot of really bad movies, to some pretty terrible ones actually, and fairly consistently. And so he's to the point now when you see him in a trailer, your eyes almost glaze over, and I can hear the audience going, "Oh my God," you know, like it's just like with the M. Night Shyamalan produced movie, Devil, you know, the elevator movie. Like,
yeah.
People are totally into the trailer, and then they see M. Night Shyamalan, and they're like, ah.
So they did that with you too, because when we saw Scott Pilgrim, people just burst out laughing when his name came up.
Yeah, they do. But I feel like people do it with Owen Wilson movies too.
Yeah, and just like M. Night Shyamalan, every character Owen Wilson plays has to have a surprise ending. I don't like that. Yeah, he is the romantic comedy answer to. Oh shit, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well,
I'm so sorry, guys.
Help me out, guys. What are we talking about? Like, because he does stuff like Marmaduke and
Drill Bit Taylor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You, Me, and Dupree, and
Marley and Me was a big success.
The Marmaduke is a standout there outside of Wes Anderson, but yeah, I know what Chris is saying though.
But that was because of the dog.
I think the dog. If you didn't have the dog in that movie.
Yeah, and of course I'm talking about Jennifer Aniston.
I knew that was coming.
Who I saw last night in The Bounty Hunter. Talk about a dog. I mean, that movie's a dog.
Is it really as bad as people have made it out to be?
Look, I put in The Bounty Hunter and I thought, I know exactly what I'm going to get. I'll watch it. What I didn't expect was just how badly made it is.
Oh, wow.
You know? It's pretty badly made. Okay, we got some other news that, a lot of big news came up in the past week and a half or 2 weeks since we've been off the air.
Right.
De Palma announced his next movie, which is going to be Toyer. He's finally doing it this fall. It's a thriller, a tight little thriller horror movie, and they say that it's really scary. The script reads really scary. So
that's
a return
good.
to form for him, I guess.
No, that's good because I don't know whether it was a rap. I don't remember where I read about it, but it was like the person who wrote the article was so dismissive of De Palma. It was embarrassing. It was like, this is like, come on, give the guy some credit. Just because you don't like the movies that were made in the 90s or the 2000s, it's really, people refer to him as a has-been, and I realize it's a popular consensus with him, but in the article that I read was so nasty about that.
Well, yeah, but I'm looking forward to it, and obviously we're not nasty about De Palma.
Well, no, we're not at all.
As people will find out next month. Jennifer Lawrence, actress Jennifer Lawrence, who we're all crazy about, on the show, she did an interview, and apparently she has a role in the new Jodie Foster-directed movie starring Mel Gibson called The Beaver that we've been talking about on the show.
Right.
And she says it's a tragedy that no one will be able to see it for what it is because it's Mel Gibson's best performance. This was positioned, I guess, as like Oscar material for Mel Gibson. And it'll be impossible for anyone to... And the first thought that comes to my head about this, I won't harp on it too long from the Mel Gibson angle because we've covered that ad nauseum. The first thought that comes to my head about it is poor Jodie Foster. I mean, she spent so long trying to get her Flora Plume off the ground, which sounds like a pornographic thing to say, but Flora Plume was a movie that she was developing for Russell Crowe about the circus world. And it just wouldn't happen. She finally gets something to happen. It's a $20 million movie. So Mel Gibson has to have back end on it, and Jodie Foster. And this happens. Beyond her control, absolutely nothing to do with her, and her movie's kind of decimated because of it.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently they did reshoots on that movie the week after the tapes broke, and somebody on the set said it was the most awkward set he'd ever been on. Because everybody was trying not to say anything to Mel Gibson.
Well, I wouldn't say anything to him. I mean...
Yeah. Big news that came out this weekend in our neck of the woods, Chris, 45 minutes away from where we are in Orlando, Florida. The Star Wars convention, the official Star Wars convention took place. And as you know, a lot of us predicted, they announced the plans for the Blu-rays for the Star Wars trilogy, the originals. So those are coming, but the versions, the special edition versions, with the
special edition versions, is that a group of
yeah,
people
really
over at the over at the Star
I'd
Wars
like
convention?
to talk about this actually, if it's all right. I mean, if you got
we'll just do it. Yeah.
No, okay, thank you. No, but I want to ask your permission because
unacceptable.
No, I watched the scene is on YouTube that to sell this Blu-ray, and it's a scene that we've known. You know, if you've read, you know, the comic book adaptation when Return of the Jedi came out, it's a scene where Luke constructs a lightsaber and he hears Vader's voice, you know, communicating with him at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. And all right, I'm going to just say it right now. Look, I don't know. I will probably buy this on Blu-ray, but it's a damn shame that I have to buy the prequel trilogy with it.
Oh, do you? I mean, does it only come in a box set with all 6 films?
I think it comes in a box set. This is the Lucas plan. I need this so my my adopted children can live comfortably for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. What I don't appreciate is the fact that he doesn't make both versions available. I mean, Friedkin's doing it with the Exorcist Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
It's been done with other Blu-rays. He's saying that it's too cost restrictive, costs too much money.
Yes, we know that.
I think that's BS, certainly with something like Star Wars. Yeah, 20th Century Fox isn't going to spend the money on Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, come
on. What versions are you talking about? The versions with
the original theatricals.
Okay.
The original theatricals. You know, I'm not precious about it, but I just think it's kind of a spit in the face to the people that are. I mean, and there are many people that are.
The girl from Precious is in these movies?
Yeah, he put her in. She's the new Jabba the Hutt. So
I had no idea, man. I might have. Okay, thank you, James.
So I don't think that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I think that's distasteful.
Yeah, well, that's what he does. That's what he. I mean, it's true. Like, it does seem like spit in the face, but this is not the first spit in the face. The fans of Star Wars, they look like bukkake victims at this point. From
that's the most brilliant thing I've ever heard said about this over my 30-plus years involved in Star Wars, Chris.
This is not the first time he's pissed off the fanboys. Like, I mean, he's done it continued, like, over and over and over again. He's basically come out and said he doesn't care what any of the fanboys think. He's going to do with these movies what he wants to. And, you know, in a way, I respect that, but in a bigger way, I side with you, Jamie, and I do feel like it's a spit in the face. I don't think it would be that much money. And, you know, how many people are on staff over there at Skywalker Ranch? You can't, you know, task, 20 of them with re-editing the original version and throwing it on the Blu-ray or something. No,
he doesn't want to. I mean, that's the bottom line. He doesn't want to, and he's not saying that, you know?
Right.
Let me bring up something else that's come out. It's something that the three of us have known about, maybe not, but, you know, Gary Kurtz, who was his original producer, his original, if you will, no man, the one that would tell him, you can't do this for the first two movies, it was at this Star Wars celebration. And Gary Kurtz has said what a lot of us have always known, is that George is more concerned with, even from Empire Strikes Back, was more concerned with the action figure sales than he was with the actual product of the film. The merchandising was more important than the actual film. And
we knew that. That's apparent with the movie that he left for. I mean, he left after Empire Strikes Back, which is widely considered to be the best of them, and it's followed by Return of the Jedi, which he was not a part of, and Return of the Jedi is widely considered to be the worst of the original trilogy.
Before the prequel.
It's filled with action toys walking around. And you got the Ewoks.
You're right.
And
you're absolutely right.
all over the place. There's no story, you know.
Yeah. No, and I think that says something, because the whole thing, you know, if you look at these Lucas and Coppola films are about fathers and sons, and, you know, Michael Corleone always says, I would never be like a man like my father, and Lucas was essentially, we know his backstory, he never wanted to be a businessman like his father, but by the end of by the end of the first Star Wars movie, he is a man like his father, a business. He is a businessman first and foremost. He's not a filmmaker. He's not a creative entity anymore.
I agree.
You know, and I think that shows. And you know, the big problem with the prequel trilogy, forget that bad dialogue, forget all that stuff. There was no one to say no to him. He didn't have a Gary Kurtz, and that hurt regardless of whatever. And we've talked about this a couple of years ago, but if you don't have someone to rein you in, it's on a film like that, it's going to hurt you. And the prequel trilogies, while financially they were successful, critically, and they're not going to be remembered.
He would have been smart to have assistants in writing and directing them.
He would have been smart to have anyone direct it for him. Hell, I would have taken Uwe Boll's version of Phantom Menace over his.
Wow, that's pretty bold.
Dude, anything would have been better. And
Uwe Boll's The Phantom Menace.
No, but let me say this. I'm, Star Wars, consumed my life, for those first 3 movies, but it never dawned on me the prequels, the Phantom Menace would be a film so boring that I never want to watch it again. That never dawned on me. Yeah,
it's really, and there's a kind of a naivete about the original series, the untouched versions, the non-special editions, that I miss. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you want to look back on Star Wars, and it brings you back to your childhood, and there's value in that. I think that's what the fanboys respond to, and that he's not giving them.
You're absolutely right, Jamie.
All right, let's get a little conversation going with Dean before we play this last interview. See if we can get a fight going between Dean and Chris.
Oh, we don't want that.
Yeah, we want that.
Oh, maybe we do. Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Dean, buddy, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. What's your thoughts on any of these news stories we've covered?
Well, I'm definitely with you on the Star Wars thing. Hasn't he? He's done this before, where he's released only the new versions, and then he comes back around and releases the old versions in.
Yeah,
so
he did that. He did do that.
But he's going to do it again. He just wants to get them to buy it twice.
Well, I didn't know that he was hurting for cash. I mean,
he doesn't care. A guy who's into action figure sales is going to be into the sales of the Blu-rays twice.
See, I don't think he will do that, and that's the prevalent feeling among everybody that attended the convention, is that that's why he's doing it, so he can double dip. I think he just dismisses the originals altogether.
Well, did he do that on DVD? He didn't, did he? He only released.
No, Chris, he did release. I think it was in 2006. The fall of 2006, okay. He did release the after he said he would not. He did release the original trilogy.
Oh. So he's gonna do it again. He's gonna do it again. I mean, if there's a market for it and he's trying to get people hungry for it. So he's gonna release this, and then everybody's gonna go, oh, but I wish I had the original too. And then when it does come out 4 years down the line, they'll forget that they bought it beforehand. They'll buy it again. So it's just it'll be a big story and everything like that, and it'll happen again. I'm telling you, if there's a buck in it, he'll get it.
I've never felt such anticipation for a series of movies before the Phantom Menace came out, and such a deflation. I mean, the closest comparison I can make is the start of a new Tampa Bay Buccaneers season. I mean, it's palpable.
I read you guys' status updates last night. That's cold. I mean, that's cold.
I did that for Chris. Thank you.
I know. Let me ask you guys this though, because we are talking about Star Wars, and it is something that is what is it with guys named George and destroying their legacies? I mean, George Romero is another case that I did like Diary of the Dead. But even when
Diarrhea of the Dead?
Diary. But Survival of the Dead was just wretched. I did not like it. And then I was just, what is it about these guys? They can't do anything else? They have to just cannibalize their own legacy?
Well, I have a theory about all of this stuff. I mean, with Lucas and with George Romero, And to hark back to James Brooks, these are all aging directors, okay? I mean, they're all in their 60s or 70s or whatever. And they're probably hitting on a sort of like, oh, I can't get anything made kind of thing because I'm 60 years old and no one wants to deal with me.
Oh.
And, and so all that they can do is really just go back. Like, for instance, with James L. Brooks, let's go back to the James L. Brooks. With Spanglish and with this new movie, unlike with his other movies that we love, well, most of them at least, those movies are populated with older actors, like people in their 30s, 40s, and everything. Well, that just won't sell now. That's just not going to sell. So he's going to go and he's trying to do movies with younger actors, and so it'll sell. It's probably the only way that he can get the movie made, even though he is James L. Brooks or whatever.
I can see that with James L. Brooks. George Lucas can make whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, George Lucas can make,
He could do it himself.
Yeah,
This
artificial actors. I mean,
this goes less with Lucas, because I don't even think Lucas is really interested in making movies, and I don't think he's been interested in making movies since he did Star Wars, and that's why the last three, the prequels, that's why they suck. It's because he wasn't interested in making them.
I did like the third one, but that was only because of the iconic characters that he finally infused in those.
That's true. I mean, because Darth Vader is born. And
exactly. Or Chewbacca or whatever.
No.
Yeah, okay. Whoever said that, you're right. That does take away from the whole. I will say this though, and then I will shut up and let Dean have his say. But the scene where Anakin is, and where the mask is being lowered onto him, and it's only lasts for, I think, probably 20 seconds. That's the best scene in the whole entire prequel trilogy. The look of fear in his face and all.
Well, think symbolically about what's happening in that film.
Yeah.
In that moment, the face of the new three films is being replaced by the face of the original three films.
Right.
So, like, symbolically, you are erasing everything he's done with the last three movies that he made. So that's why it works, because.
Yeah, getting rid of that bad taste out of your mouth.
Chris is exactly right. I mean,
he is right. He is absolutely right.
Let's face it, we all love Star Wars. I mean, we like the heroes and everything like that, but we all love Star Wars because of Darth Vader. It's a suit movie. If without the suit, the movie doesn't work. So if you don't have the Darth Vader suit, it just doesn't work. And so, we're just not interested, and that's the problem with the first three. I mean, I know it's trying to tell the story of the birth of Darth Vader and everything, but we're just not interested in seeing him as a kid. We're just not interested in seeing him as a teenager. And I don't think that, given the quality of the movies, I don't think that George Lucas himself was interested. He just set it early on as a goal for him to reach. Which was, I'm going to do these, and he had been saying he's going to do it, and then he just finally shat it out.
Shat it out.
No, he's right. Jamie, he's right. That's what
I'm not saying he's wrong. I just think it's funny. Shat it out.
No, he's right. I wish William Shatner had done them instead.
But, I mean...
And then I feel equally deflated by the last Indiana Jones, as many people do.
Mm-hmm.
Just damn it.
I think that's the same. I think that's going the same way. I think it's going the same way. I think that it's something that people really want, but the filmmakers themselves are not really interested in. You can just tell. You can just tell the hunger's not there for it. So you can feel it.
Aaron liked it.
Well, I rest my case.
Yeah. I mean, the only good scene, and there was only one good scene in the last Indiana Jones when he got into the refrigerator. That was the only thing that was any good in it.
Oh my God! Wow.
Really?
Wow, you went there, Dean. You went there. My hat's off to you.
It's the only thing that's any good. That's the only sequence of the movie that's like, oh wow, this is going to be really fun, and then you're just sitting there, oh, when's the fun going to begin? The whole time. So. It's sad. But with Romero, I just don't think that he can get anything made unless it's a zombie movie. So
at this point,
pure and simple. Pure and simple.
You're right. You're so right.
So,
but I mean, he's another one that probably doesn't want to either. I mean, because he was a younger guy, he could have stopped making these damn things.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he's made plenty of other, very interesting movies.
Yeah.
So, and he obviously has a lifelong love of the genre. So he probably has other ideas, but they're just not clicking with the people he's trying to sell it to.
Right.
So I'm surprised some of his stuff hasn't been remade, like more of it, like Martin. I would have thought something.
Yeah,
like what?
Martin, I would think would be. Yeah.
Like what, Chris? Did you say something?
Monkey Shines.
Yeah.
Night Riders.
There's sure people camping out. Oh, and Night Riders too. My God, they're all camping out for that one.
But Martin
and Harris will come back and reprise his role.
You would think in today's climate that Martin might have like a real shot at
yes, that's what I'm saying.
A remake, for sure.
Everybody loves vampires now, but that was a dark vampire. I mean, he went in with razor blades and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a disturbing movie.
You didn't even know if he really was a vampire or not. If he just thought he was a vampire. Yeah. So it's just like that's the interesting thing about that movie.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a kid that wanted to drink blood, that wanted to be a vampire. Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah, he was like the original goth.
You don't know how true that statement is, Dean.
He was the original goth. Hey, I watched. I've been on a big. I wanted to mention this because I watched. I've watched half of Multiple Sarcasms, and I'm liking it quite a bit. Although I don't know why it's set in the 70s because there's not much 70s detail in it.
Right.
And frankly, I find the use of present day music, which there's a lot of it in it, to be kind of disconcerting. Like I'm like, okay, well, this is set in the 70s, but it doesn't have any 70s music in it. I mean, surely he could have. I don't know. That's my main complaint of it. And plus, like, it's just some of the details. Like, Mira Sorvino has like a Jennifer Aniston haircut, but this is 79, so it doesn't make us.
Yeah, it's not a great period piece, and I think the only reason why he said it in the 70s was nostalgia, because he tailored his film up against the movies that he really admired from the 70s, like An Unmarried Woman and Kramer versus Kramer and that kind of thing.
And Starting Over, which he starts the movie off.
I love that movie.
Yeah. Another James L. Brooks movie, by the way, written by James L. Brooks.
Dean, all I got to say, Dean, is hold me like you did by the lake on Naboo.
Oh my God!
That makes me really uncomfortable.
I'm gonna burn my prequel trilogy DVD right now.
Okay. One other thing that I wanted to get off my chest. I watched last night. I watched Fish Tank for the first time. And I know, Jerry, you like that movie a lot.
I love
right?
that film. I still stand by my thing that I would give Katie Jarvis the best actress last year. But okay.
She is incredible in it. However, I feel like the movie is a little too long. Like it lingers on things a little too long. It's 2 hours, so it's like it's got a lot of long shots of like kind of.
She's not on Naboo though.
Huh?
She's not on Naboo. I mean, she's doing better than everyone else.
Poke me like you did in the Naboo.
No, God damn it, Jamie, you ruined any positive memories I have on the prequels have been destroyed. Not that
Stick it in my Naboo like you did on Alderaan. Alderaan's a people planet.
That's my Naboo, please. Okay, so Fish Tank was really good, but a little long.
Right, okay, I'll give you that.
She is terrific in it, though. She's really good. But she's kind of playing herself, too. I mean, she was discovered by the director, like, arguing with her boyfriend on the tube train or something. So
right. No, but, I mean, even if she's playing herself, I mean, it's still quite a performance, though. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I don't say that to denigrate the performance at all.
Right.
Because, of course, even if you're playing yourself, you are in a movie. And
if I played myself, producers would be suing me till the day I died because the movie wouldn't make any money. But so I mean,
well, when is the Movie Geeks United movie coming out?
Well, we can. I mean, Jamie and Chris, it would be a box office draw. But if you put me in the movie, Jesus Christ, I mean, it'll make Heaven's Gate look like a multiplier.
It'll just be 2 hours of people talking over each other.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jamie. God, now
you couldn't not be in it though. I mean, we could get somebody to stand in for you.
I mean,
that's a good point, Chris.
Chris,
if they were to cast a Movie Geeks movie, who would you want to play you, Chris?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's a great question.
Oh, that's tough. I don't know. I would have an easier time. I think we should pick who plays each other. If I pick who plays myself, it's going to be Brad Pitt or something like that.
Well, Jamie, you pick.
If he gets Brad Pitt, I get Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. I would cast. Let's see, who would play you, Chris? I would cast. I would cast one of those guys that we talked about tonight. I'd cast like Michael Cera or Jesse Eisenberg.
That's so fucking cold, man.
Is that how you see me? That is fucked up.
I don't know. I mean,
how far do you live from Chris?
That offends you, Chris? You just said that Michael Cera was a great actor.
Yeah, but I don't think he meant that to play him.
Yeah, Chris, what?
Yeah, no, it's just kind of a weakling. It's fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, if Sarah could play me, I
could have picked Jeremy Davies, Chris. Come on.
Hey, I would have preferred that.
That's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing at all, but I think, I would say for Chris, I'd have to put, like, Brad Pitt or Jeremy Sisto.
Yeah, Jeremy Sisto does not have the humor that Chris has.
It doesn't matter, but I would hope that Chris would write the dialogue for Jeremy Sisto.
I was trying to pick Paul Rudd. I'd cast Paul Rudd as you, Chris.
That'll work. That'll work. That's a nice, safe, boring choice. I'll take that over fucking Eisenberg.
Yeah, Eisenberg. Ideally, Eisenberg or Sarah would be for me. I wish I was that thin. But
I wasn't talking about somebody that looks like you. I mean, I'm not saying those actors look like you. I was just trying to get.
On that basis, Basil Rathbone.
So Chris? Who would you cast as Jerry?
Who would I cast as Jerry? I don't know.
Jorge Garcia.
Yeah. Well, it would have to be, Eli Roth just played a crazy Jewish guy in Inglourious Basterds.
Great choice.
I love you, Chris.
That's it.
Chris, I would sign over the rest of my savings account to you. Thank you.
I think that would work.
Well, that's good. That's good. And Jerry, who would you cast as me?
Oh my God. You really have to put me on a spot like this?
Just remember, I have my finger on the button.
Okay, Al Pacino.
Okay, that's safe. That's good. Okay. That's good. It doesn't get better than that.
And I would just go with Jack Black, because I'm.
Everybody says I look like Jack Black. You know what? In high school, and I'm not lying to you, I would go to a comedy club, and I had a comedian heckle me because he told me I look like Johnny Depp. I've gone from going to looking like Johnny Depp to looking like Jack Black.
Wow.
I don't know how to take that, man. And I looked like Johnny Depp before he had a respected career, like a 21 Jump Street era. That was my high school era. So wow. I didn't know it was a compliment back then.
It wasn't.
At least you weren't Richard Grieco.
Thank you, Jesse Eisenberg. We got some great shows coming up. I just want to let people know about them.
We have the biggest show coming up.
Yeah, this Wednesday night we have. Hang on, I got to figure out what we have. This Wednesday night we have Bruce Beresford, director. He has a new movie out called Mal's Last Dancer that he's going to talk about, but he's also directed movies like Tender Mercies and Driving Miss Daisy.
And Breaker Morant.
Yeah, he's directed many movies. He'll be on Wednesday night, and then next Sunday night we'll have on composer Brian Tyler. He's really made a mark in the action genre, like Eagle Eye and Rambo, and he just composed The Expendables. He'll be on, and then the following Wednesday, the 25th, we'll have James Cameron. Don't need to say much more there.
Yeah.
The man, the myth, and then the following Sunday after that, the last Sunday of the month, will have Patrick Fabian, the star of the new film The Last Exorcism, which is getting a lot of buzz. I mean, it seems to, speaking of buzz, they're right on cue, that horn. It seems to this seems to be this year's kind of Paranormal Activity kind of buzz about it.
No, but let me ask you about that. Because we have Paranormal Activity 2 and Saw 3D, which I saw obviously if you saw the Expendables, you saw the Saw 3D trailer, and how that's exciting as getting kicked in the stomach by Orson Welles at the commissary. But you know, I'm sorry, I really don't like the Saw movies. I think they're wretched. But you really think that The Last Exorcism could reach those heights?
I think The Last Exorcism could beat both of those.
I don't doubt that because, I mean...
It's not much of a week coming up.
You know why? Because it's new. I think Paranormal Activity 2 will have a good opening weekend, and then people will think, oh, shit, it sucks. Because it's not a new kind of discovery like the last one was. Saw is dead. And I don't know that 3D is going to make much difference. I don't know if the teenagers are going to plop down $12.
I really got to say, the trailer, I mean, the Saw movies haven't really mattered to me for the last couple of years. They never did, but even 3D, I mean, unless the Lionsgate is going to pay for your tickets, you know, I really don't care.
And I don't know that this was shot in 3D, but it doesn't matter. And you know, so I think if the viral marketing is right for The Last Exorcism, which I just went on Twitter and they must have had a screening or something, because everyone was talking about how it was the scariest movie they'd ever seen, and you know, we can laugh that off or whatever, but this is the audience that would go to pay for it,
right?
For that movie.
It's just another exorcism movie, though. I mean, don't we get one of these like every 5 years?
Yeah, we got the Exorcism of Emily Rose a couple of years ago.
Right,
right. And then there was like there was another one too, but I don't know. Maybe it is good, but it just really doesn't look that good, does it?
I don't know if it is good. I don't know if it is good, but it's made in a way that people like the horror movies made now, which is the Paranormal Activity style. And I think that makes a difference for people, to you know, naive people.
It looks pretty bad then, if that's the way they like it.
I hate how the poster image is kind of a callback to the spider walk scene.
Right.
In,
they're playing that big time in the trailer.
Yeah, right. I hate that.
Well, I mean, she looks just like her. Like, it looks just like Reagan from The Exorcism.
Right.
So they didn't even go out of their way to give her a different haircut or a different outfit. Like, she's got the same haircut, the same outfit.
They photoshopped that scene. I mean,
right. I mean, they're smart enough to model it after the highest-grossing exorcism movie of all time.
Model? They're ripping it off.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's not doing
it's all about the
It's a horror movie that's ripping something off. Oh my God.
Oh my God! Imagine that. There's gambling going on here.
You know what? I finally watched the first Saw from start to finish. I had never seen it before. I'd seen bits and pieces.
I'm sorry.
I'd always like turned it off halfway through it. And I can, you know, it's not my thing, but I can see where it started out being a different thing than it evolved into.
Right. No, I understand that. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a locked room mystery kind of thing, so that puts it above, you know, the following entries. So
I want to bring up one last thing before we get off the air, and Chris, you'll appreciate this. There seems to be, when we announce James Cameron, and people have been reposting the announcement for us, RSVPing for the event. Yeah, it's great, but there seems to be some of the comments that are being made are really dismissive of James Cameron in a way that I don't think is genuine. And they're the kind of comments that would not be made pre-Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It seems to be an arrogant dismissal just because the whole world buys tickets for his film.
Yes.
So it's a backlash.
Go ahead, Chris.
The same type of stuff that you get with Tim Tebow, the quarterback from the Gators, who's now with the Broncos. People hate him. They hate him, and they hate him so much that it doesn't seem genuine at all. And it's
because he's not a hometown boy anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same exact thing. And it's the same with James Cameron. I don't buy it. Like, and all these people talk about how Avatar was the worst movie ever made. I don't think those people realistically But people say that, you know, I mean, I've heard people say it a couple times, you know, everything these days has to be one or the other. It's got to be the greatest movie ever made, or it's the worst movie ever made. Like, these are not the kind of people who ever say, that was all right, not for me. Like, these people don't say that. You know, everything has to be one extreme or the other. And they do that with James Cameron, and I never buy it. Like, I don't know. Maybe from women, like, because his movies are geared a little bit more towards men, I think. So I could buy that women are not so into his movies.
Yeah, but he writes the best female parts for women lately.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a you know, his movies do have a strong love interest in almost every one of them. So
yeah,
you know,
there is somebody that the main character is trying to fuck. It's true.
Yeah.
No. I mean, Cameron's Cameron's big distinction throughout his career, I think, is the strong female characters that he writes. And you cannot be as successful as Titanic and Avatar without appealing to both genders.
True.
I mean,
I agree.
I do think that that's true, but I don't think he's known for that. He's known for making big, ballsy action movies. He does have strong female characters, too.
Yeah.
No, I will say this, though. I think I agree with you, Jamie, and I agree with you, Chris. I think the criticism is BS. Look, he's the only person who's made a 3D movie that's worthwhile watching in 3D. Tim Burton didn't do that. Alice in Wonderland is horrible. And as much as I like Tim Burton, I'm willing to admit that movie is wretched. Coraline I liked. I won't lie to you. But I've seen several movies in 3D, and I got to say, Avatar is by far the best film I've seen in 3D in my lifetime.
Well, here's my point.
But it's also just a great film.
This is why I think it's arrogant dismissiveness. I probably have more problems with Titanic and Avatar than most everything else he made before.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think it is so arrogant to dismiss the movies altogether because, look, Avatar, the movie, I would give a B. Mm-hmm. Avatar, the experience and the must-see aspect of it, for how new it is, I'd give it an A+. I mean, I can separate that. The work that went into it, the vision of that movie, it's awe-inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And to dismiss that is really it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I don't like that at all.
I agree. I agree with you, Jamie.
I'm being sort of quiet in this because although I'm not that dismissive, like I'm definitely going to be tuning in. I'm definitely interested in what he has to say. Always interested in what he's doing, and always will go and see it because he's an important filmmaker.
Yeah.
However, I was one of those people who walked out of Avatar thinking that cinema was dead because I just felt. Give me 3.
Cinema is reborn. It's not dead.
No. Give me 3 minutes, okay? Give me 3 minutes.
Oh my God!
Okay.
You need 3 minutes? Okay.
Well, okay, give me 2 minutes. All
just
right.
go on. Just tell me.
I felt like craft-wise, it's a beautiful movie. Okay, it's beyond reproach craft-wise. You know, everything about it. You know, from the score all the way to everything that you're seeing and hearing. However, the script is so poor. The dialogue is so poor. All of the work that went into this movie, why couldn't you have why all of the cliches in the dialogue? I just don't understand it. He's a writer. He's been writing for years. I don't understand why he still has characters who are in the year 2400 or whenever it's set, still referring to things like, hey, we're not in Kansas anymore, or hey, there's a guy doing the funky chicken down there, Sergeant. Are they really going to be talking about the funky chicken in 2400? No, they're not.
I hope so.
Okay. No, they're not.
I'm still talking about the funky chicken.
I hate the lines. I hate lines like, oh, what have you been smoking? Come on.
Wait, Dean, have you been smoking something?
No.
Okay,
well, Dean, look. His weakness is dialogue,
mm-hmm.
and the more grandiose the premise and the world he creates, the more obvious that weakness becomes. But to say that it's something like the death of cinema, technically, in terms of his vision, I think it points to the future of cinema. The old cinema, you can see in the script. You can see the whole retreads of the mythology and the same themes that we've seen over and over again. That's the part of the movie that's old. The part of the movie that's new is what's exciting to me.
Mm-hmm. The craft, yes, the craft is beautiful, no question about it. But we must be, I think that people must be able to see past the craft and into what is the movie about? What is it saying? What does it offer really beyond the craft?
I mean, it offers a lot, actually.
The white man is evil.
It's the most blatant.
It's not only just, but how about, okay, the white man is evil, but yet the white man drops down on this new planet and is the king of everybody. You know, he becomes the king.
Can I add something to that?
Go ahead.
I'd like to say something. There's something that I really want to ask him, actually, and I do want to participate in this interview. It is the most blatant indictment of U.S. foreign policy I've ever seen in a film, an American-made film. I've never seen it, and I told this to the people who made the Daniel Ellsberg documentary. We talked about this. I've never seen anything like this in a major release film from a Fox. It's a Fox studio release film. Your right-wing brethren there, and it's just the most blatant. It makes the anti-Vietnam War analogy in a Star Wars film look like Play School or Lego for that.
And yet the lead character being a Marine, and being a paraplegic, the lead in a big epic action movie, is very positively portrayed.
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie.
Chris, we haven't gotten your thoughts. Any thoughts you have?
Well, first of all, everyone harps on that "we're not in Kansas" line anymore, and I think
it's
they
neither
forget
here nor
that.
there, I think.
Go ahead, Chris.
Not only that, but the character that says it is the villain in the movie, and he's a fucking retard. Like, he's obviously, he's an unoriginal jarhead. So it's not like you have a very eloquent main character saying this. You have a moron saying it, first off. And second off, Dean's doing exactly what I was just talking about, which is throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying, this is the worst. This is the death of cinema. Like, it's clearly not. And I don't believe... I think that's so extreme that Dean, you're an intelligent guy. You can't really believe that death of cinema. I mean, that's nonsense. It's the same thing that I said when the movie came out. It's no different than The Wizard of Oz, and that's one of the reasons that I think it's mentioned, or King Kong, or any of those types of movies. They're very simplistic movies, mostly to be seen for, spectacle. With a little bit of a message behind it, but it doesn't jam it down your throat, and it's not too complicated. It's for everyone, young and old, and black and white, and male and female. Everyone can get it. It doesn't have to be L.A. Confidential, or it doesn't have to be a fucking Polanski movie for it to be a great movie. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a Bergman movie.
And it's also comparable to something else that we just discussed, which is Star Wars. Star Wars at its base is very simple, and Star Wars appeals to the masses because of its kind of simple mythology. You have very simple ideas, very simple themes and characters that you're trying to express, a universal kind of thing. I think that Avatar wants to do that, and I think that Titanic, everybody complains about Titanic too, but no matter what, Titanic works as an emotional experience for me, and obviously for millions upon millions of other people.
It does. No, I mean, you're right. I mean,
whatever its fault, it's a journey, and it's an emotional one.
I would say Avatar does too, and I again, just like you say about Titanic, I think that Avatar works on an emotional level for millions and millions.
Oh, I think I agree with Chris, and I agree with Jamie here. I mean, look, the experience of watching Avatar, I've only seen it the one time, but I enjoyed it. Even for the technical stuff, but even for the emotional stuff, it was the battle scenes and the other scenes. It's a good movie. I'm not gonna jump on a bandwagon and say it's a horrible movie. It's not. I had a great time watching it.
I'm looking forward to seeing Avatar again because I only saw it the first weekend it opened. in this re-release, I'm going to watch it again because I have to say it didn't reach me emotionally. And typically I'm a crybaby in movies. Typically, that's...
No, I realize, and I remember the conversation we had because we had Jason O'Brien on the show when we did this conversation, the four of us, and I wonder if he'll go see it again, too.
I have to be a little bit more clear in what I said. I did say that when I walked out of the movie, I thought it was the death of cinema. I slapped myself later on, and I said it's not the death of cinema. They're still going to be making movies with actual people in it. I didn't really respond well to what I termed the animated sequences in the movie, which is most of the movie, because I do consider that, technology strides aside, I do consider that just animation. So it's like I'm just not one of those people who's really into animated figures, like really getting to me, especially that kind of creepy motion capture animation.
What about First the Cat?
Well,
see, I didn't find the animation, the motion capture, creepy at all. I think that was one of the big revolutionary aspects of the movie.
Yeah, I have to agree with Jamie here. I didn't find this jarring. The animation, I found it all melded together very nicely.
Now, I am pissed off. I am pissed off about some comments James Cameron has made recently when he's been doing this new press junket for this re-release. Because one of the things he said, he said the Hiroshima movie that he's doing will not be in 3D. He said, I made a comment that all movies should be made in 3D, but this would be too sensationalistic if I made it in 3D. And then he said that The Hurt Locker would have been a better movie in 3D.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he made a comment that said, it's a joke that The Hurt Locker won Best Picture. It only won Best Picture because it was about the war, and yet it didn't take a stand on the war. And our movie had a lot more to say politically.
Right.
And so it was more of a hot potato.
See, that's a very disingenuous stand to take, because even though it's an anti-war movie, it really revels in the sequences of war in it. In fact, the sequences of war in Avatar are the reason people went to go see it and do remember it. It's the war sequences that they do remember. It's only an afterthought to put a anti-war thing on it. In fact, I would say that most people who went to go see the movie who were pro-war went out of the movie still being pro-war and didn't even get what the guy was saying.
Well, the same thing can be said of Terminator 2.
I agree.
Go ahead, Chris. What?
Well, it's a little bit simplistic to call this because someone enjoys the movie to call them pro-war. I mean, there's obviously a good side and a bad side that's being fought there. There's a side that represents an imposing culture, and there's a side that represents an imposed-upon culture. And when that imposed-upon culture in the movie rises up and defeats the imposing culture, that's what people are enjoying. If it had happened the other way around, if the movie had ended with the Marines slaughtering the Na'vi, people would not have liked the movie.
Of course, that's true. However, I also have a problem with the Na'vi coming up and sending everybody out because it's not believable. It's not believable that all of that technology could be vanquished by guys with arrows. I just don't believe it.
Well, it's wish fulfillment. I mean, that's what it is. It's the wish fulfillment that
Lucas.
But it takes me out of the movie.
Now, let's go back to Return of the Jedi, which the Ewoks are essentially the Viet Cong. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah, but we hated that.
Okay. And I didn't know it was the Viet Cong. I was. Never mind. Let's not go there. Because Dad stood out in the rain with us, and thank God he didn't strangle me during that waiting out in the line for Return of the Jedi in '83. But if you knew my dad, you would really appreciate that comment. But I did. It is look, and what I said earlier, and what I hope that we can talk to Mr. Cameron about is it is this very anti-U.S. imperialistic film. And we do have obviously the shades of Vietnam and obviously Afghanistan and Iraq there. And I do believe that the Na'vi defeating what are essentially Blackwater troops, corporation troops, if you will, but Blackwater troops. I do believe that there is something awe-inspiring about that. And I do, and I like that.
And you know what? It's no different from the technical stuff that we go to see that movie for. We're going to see something that we don't see in real life.
Yeah.
We're going to see the Indians defeat the white man and reclaim their land.
Jamie's absolutely right here, and I agree with that.
Chris, did you have a last point?
No. I agree with I agree with what we're saying, and I disagree with Dean. I will say that he's just about said what I consider to be the most respectable criticism of the movie. I love the movie, but if there's one criticism that people have mentioned that I will accept, it's that the movie was not able to convince them to take a leap of faith, and that's about the best thing. I mean, as far as the craft, I think it's beyond reproach. As far as the script goes, there are small complaints I have with it, but otherwise I think it's solid. To say that the movie was not able to make you suspend disbelief is the most reputable complaint you could have about the movie. And it would be just the same as someone saying, I just was not able to believe that a twister was able to pick up a house and take it to a magical land.
Well, I mean, that's the brilliance of that movie and why it lasted so long. It's because it does make you believe that, and you can suspend disbelief.
Right.
This movie doesn't do the work. It doesn't do the work.
Right. Well, the rest of the world disagrees with you, Dean, but...
well, that doesn't make the rest of the world right.
No, it doesn't, and that's what I'm saying. Taking that point of view, I can accept to say that, I just have a hard time when people say, oh, the script was so terrible, and I found the effects creepy. I don't buy that. When someone says what you're saying, which is, it just wasn't able to make me suspend disbelief, that I can accept. That's a good answer to me.
Right.
Well, I mean, let me add some other things too, just a little bit, and this will be my final comment on it.
For running into the Simpsons at the start. Okay?
You'll TiVo it, but here's the deal. Look, I mean, I didn't like the design of the characters. I found them. I didn't care for it. I mean, I'm glad that I'm glad that everybody loves it, and it's the greatest thing in the world for them. I'm glad it gets them through the night. I just have to be the one person out here who says something negative about it. One of a few people who say something negative about it.
That's okay.
It's not a blight on Cameron's career. I love that he's going to do Hiroshima. That's a story that needs to be told, and I applaud him for that. And it's just a movie that, with its myriad of plot holes, and I wasn't emotionally connected to any of the characters either, and it definitely was not for me.